Having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 2044. It is RootsTech Day 1. And you're going to go, what the heck is RootsTech? Let me tell you. So every year, FamilySearch.org puts on this big conference, in person as well as online. If you attend online, it's free. If you go in person, there is a charge. And they have it at the Salt Palace Convention Center in Salt Lake City. And you get to, there's all these vendors there. There's a whole bunch of, there's an expo, all of this. They have these amazing speakers on that come in and talk about things. And some people come in and talk about their family stories. This is why I love RootsTech, because not only do you get the how-to, and they have all the different classes classified as beginner, intermediate, advanced, available for everybody, all skill levels. But if you're online and you can't watch something live, you can go back later and watch the recording of it. Now, I've had a very busy day, so I haven't had a chance really to get in there and watch any of the events. I actually caught the tail end of one that was live, and I'm sort of like, I have to go back and watch that one. And it was put on by Ancestry about the new tools that have come out this year, and they just released a new one called Networks. Not 100% sure on this networks thing, but it sounds really cool, and I can't wait to go and try it out. Basically, the network is what was the name of the woman? Hang on, I have to find her again. Where's my schedule? There's my schedule. I got a very full schedule. I mean, they're just such incredible speakers. But the one I got to hear today, and I really want to go back and, hang on in here. Krista Cowan. She's been working for Ancestry for like 21 years. And she was telling us about networks, but she had the audience participation. So she'd have them calling out, what would you use networks for? You could use it networks for who are the people on this particular census in this particular area, and it pulls the people in. If you're trying to find if there's other relative, this is going to be awesome for breaking down your brick walls. So if you've got an ancestor that you're trying to find, or you're trying to find more information on, you can create a network. And this is me just remembering what was talked about earlier today. So don't quote me on this, but this is the gist that I got of this. But if you had an ancestor that came over on a ship, for example, you could create a network for that particular sailing of that ship, and it will pull in all the records of all those people that were on that sailing, and you can then have a look to see if there is anybody on there that maybe, did the person come over by themselves? Was their family with them? You could be looking at the manifest, but you might be looking at page 2 and the whole family's listed on page 1, because you may have forgotten that we always look at the page before and the page after, the entry before and the entry after, to see if anybody else is in there. I tell you, it works brilliantly. So this network thing, and what was interesting is that we got to hear stories along. I'm still getting goosebumps from these stories, because it was just an amazing story. And what it turned out is that Krista was telling us about a friend of hers, and her friend was at her parents' place, and her brother was there, and her sister-in-law was there, and her sister-in-law jokingly said something about that, she thought she'd give this family tree thing a go, and was doing some research and found out that she had an ancestor on the ship called Amazon. And she just made some joke about Amazon and linking it to Amazon.com. And Krista's friend stood there and just looked at this woman and go, "Are you serious?" And she goes, "Yes." And what it turned out was that because they both created these networks, they bring up the Ancestry app on their phone. My phone's in the other room, so you're going to have to use visual. Oh, actually, no, I do have another phone here. We can use visualization. I really love the case on this one, don't you? Anyway, so they put up the phone and they're looking on the app, and it turns out that the sister-in-law's ancestor was on the exact same sailing as Krista's friend's ancestor. And the friend is relating the story to Krista while they're sitting having lunch. And she goes, and then Krista turns around and goes, "Was that the sailing that left from," and named the port and the date of the sailing, and gave details about it. And her friend looks at her and goes, "Yeah." She goes, "I had an ancestor on Amazon as well. And so they pull up the information in the network and then start finding that, yep, these three women all had ancestors on the thing. So could they be related? Maybe, maybe not, but it's something that they're exploring. But because of this network, they could pull in the passenger lists of this. And it turned out that one of them found out that one of their ancestors, because of this network thing, found a sister of the ancestor on there as well. It was just a chilling story, and I had goosebumps going up my arms as she's telling this story. But then it got even better because her friend said to you, have you heard of the Charles Dickens letter? And she's like, no, what's the Charles Dickens letter? And because she had it in her network thing, she was able to go and show it to her and read it. And basically, Charles Dickens, as in the author Charles Dickens, the famous author that wrote Tale of Two Cities and the Scrooge story. I can't think of the Scrooge story, the Christmas one, with Scrooge and all of that in there. I can't even think of the name. But anyway, that author apparently wrote a very scathing letter about his dislike, and we're not talking a little bit of a dislike. We are talking absolutely hated the Mormons. And he actually took this letter down to the ship that they were boarding on to go to America, and he gave a copy to the captain. I don't know how it ended up getting passed into these ancestors, but through the networks they were able to upload this documentation in there, so she has a copy of the Dickens letter and was able to read it and everything else. So it was just interesting listening to this about how the network worked. The network worked. So sorry, in the mornings when it's time to head into the office, I just tell Zephyr, I just go, work time. So network work. There you go. But it was very interesting as she's telling these stories. And this is what I love about this RootsTech, is that you go and she loves to encourage people to write their stories. She's already said when she passed, she wants to, and she named like about 5 or 6 people that she wants her family to go to have input on her eulogy or her obituary, one or both, probably both, because of how full she lived her life and how important it is that her story gets captured. So she is a big component on telling your story, about your experience and things like that. But some of the other speakers there that I can't wait. I mean, they've even got one of the other ones I'm eager to go and listen to. Now, I've gone through and scheduled these. I've got how many on my schedule? 30-something on my schedule from today out of 81 sessions that are available. And I've even gotten there like family tree DNA. Now, family tree DNA does your Y DNA, which is the only one that can go from father to son. Never gets into the male male DNA. And they also do the mitochondrial, which is the one that's passed from mother to child. And only the female line can pass that along. And so they have actually got there's 3 parts, and then there's another one. And so the part 1 is part 1 is the Y-DNA genetic genealogy case study, and is using genetic genealogy to break down a brick wall, part 1. Then there's part 2, and then there's part 3, all on that one. And then they have the DNA testing simplified, where it gives you tools and tips for genealogy success using the things. Then we also have, there's a 2-part one on mining the census. Are you finding every clue that is on a census report? Because every time a census is run, they change some of the questions that are asked. So are you cashing in on those? One of my favorite topics, newspapers, about family in the news, how to find the family in the news. And I have to tell you, I was looking. So last night I was going through, because I'm still trying to find this match. I've kind of narrowed it down to where on the family tree the connection is going to be. Actually, I'm working on another one. So I've got 3 that I'm working on to find the DNA matching, which is why I want to go and have a look at these DNA things, all the ones on DNA, so may give me clues to help me find the connections. But one of the ones that appears in common with the one that I'm having the biggest problem finding, I mean, I'm connected to her, and she told me another person that I'm also DNA matched to on her side, and I can see it on my side as well, but we just don't know where the connection is. There is a third person that I have in common with both of those. And the third one is supposed to be a second cousin. So I thought, well, I know. And so I'm like looking at it and going, okay, So these people are on these other two people are on my paternal side. This third one is a second cousin on the paternal side, which means, and then looking at who she had in common, it comes in on my grandfather's side of the family, my paternal grandfather's side of the family. So I'm like looking at this going, okay, so my grandfather's siblings. So I'm looking at my grandfather's siblings going, okay, for them to be a second cousin, they have to be a first cousin to my dad, which means they must be first, well, hang on, their parents. So for a second cousin, so for her to be second cousin to me, her parents have to be, one of her parents has to be first cousins with my dad. In order for them to be a first cousin with my dad, they have to be a child of one of my grandfather's siblings. So I've got that narrowed down to a piece. And then the second and then, so they're here, I'm here. Our parents are first cousins. Our grandparents are siblings. So I've got it narrowed down to I think it's like 6 or 7 kids in the family. So I've got it narrowed down to these, and then take off my grandfather. Take off my grandfather and his family, and so now we're down to like 5 to 6 people that it's involved. So I've got it in this area, and I'm like looking at this going, okay, they've got kids, and they've got kids. So I found the kids of those ones. Don't have kids for that couple. He died too young. Don't have kids for that one, and I need to find the kids for that one. And so I'm like looking along at my grandfather's siblings. Well, I came across one of his siblings, and I went and had a look at the records, and I'm going, huh, what was his wife's name? I only had her first name. Surely there's got to be a marriage record out now that we can find. So I went and found his marriage record and found her full name. I thought, well, that's a very long full name. It had 3 middle names. So there's 4 that go into the first name field, and then her maiden name. And so I'm looking at this, and I'm like, okay, let me go find when they, this is when they got married. Okay, so let me find her birth record, found that. And then I was sort of like, hang on, something's not adding up here. Something just wasn't sitting right in my brain. So I went back, and so I thought, well, let me go see if they had any kids. Can't find any records for kids. It may be too early for me to look, because on the New Zealand birth, deaths, and marriages, you can go, they have to be 100 years. The birth date had to be 100 years ago, or 80 if they are dead, or 50 if they are stillborn. Follow that logic. Okay. So there's a dead end on the dates that you can put in there. Like I couldn't put anything before the 6th of March, 1950. I had to do anything before that. I couldn't do anything after that because that was their 50-year deadline. 50-year deadline, 60-year deadline. Hang on. 70-year deadline. That was 70 years. Hang on. 50. That was 75 years. I wonder why they put that on there. Which tells me they didn't have any stillborn kids then. So I'm looking at this, and I happen to, because when I do a marriage search, I happen to put in like the groom's last name, put in some dates where I think they should be between here, and I make it like about a 20-year difference. So when was he born? Add like 15 years. Yes, 15 years, because some of them got married young. And then do a 20-year spread. So between the ages of 15 and 35 is when he got married. And that kind of put me on the border of where I could go with the marriages, because the marriages, they would do 80 years. I think it was 80 years. Yeah, 80 years. And so I put in the last name and up it pops. So then I sort it by, what was I looking for? I sorted it by groom. So I found his name there. But what caught my eye, remember I always say, look above, look below. I found his thing, and it had her name there. Then I found this other entry for the same first name, the same middle names, but the middle names were in a different order. And I was like, huh, that's got her married to somebody. Was she married twice before she met, was she married before she met my great uncle? And so I did some digging, and she was. And so then I thought, oh, there's got to be more. And so I thought, I know, I'll go into past papers, because going into past papers, I could find marriage announcement, wedding announcements, birth announcements, death obituaries, that sort of stuff. And past papers is from the National Library in New Zealand, and it's got they scanned all these newspapers in there, and you can do searches through the newspapers, and they bring up these articles. Well, let me tell you, this unraveled a whole. This took me down a rabbit hole. So I had her first husband's name there. I was looking for birth records for him, couldn't find them. I'm like, So then I went in and into the past papers, and I found these newspaper articles where he had been convicted of bigamy. She was the second wife, and he was still married to the first wife. I'm like, ooh. So I start reading through the newspaper. Many of them are the same. And then I was finding the ones with a little bit of differences and things like that. And it put in the name of the first wife. Well, I found their marriage record really quickly because it wasn't the same last name as he had when he married my great uncle's wife. So when he married his second wife, he did it under a different. He had the same first name and two middle names, but his last name was different from his first marriage. Because for his first marriage, he had been told that his last name was this particular last name. He later changed it to the last name that he had when he married my great aunt, because that was the same name as his uncle who had brought him up. And the story supposedly goes that a few weeks after he was born, his mother passed away, his dad took off, and he was left with his uncle, and his uncle raised him. And the name that he had was his uncle's last name. When he got married the first time, he left his uncle's place when he was 16 and was told that, and was told by his uncle, this is all in the newspaper, told by the uncle that this was his last name. And it wasn't the same as the uncle, but he later changed it to the same as the uncle. So I'm going through and I'm reading all of this stuff. Oh my gosh, it was so interesting. It never mentioned who his second wife was. Of course, I knew who it was because I had found the marriage records. So I'm just reading all of this. It named the woman, the first wife he got married to, and they got married. And after 3 months, she left him. They met up a year later at the lawyer's office because she wanted a divorce. And somehow they never ended up he never ended up signing the divorce papers while he was there. There was a child that was born from that marriage, just one. And then he disappeared, but he didn't. And even the judge turned around and said, look, you had the opportunity to get a divorce at that time and you didn't. And then you turn around and you go marry some other woman. And now you have actually ruined her life because of what you've done with this, the case of bigamy. So it was just fascinating. I got lost for like a couple of hours in there. And when I finally came up for air, it was like 11:30 last night. But it took me down this whole rabbit warren and things. And I dug up all this information on. Still haven't found his birth information. No, sorry, I did find his birth information. I found his birth information. Found that. Found his first marriage records. Found his second marriage records. Haven't found his death record though. Maybe he was under another name by that time. I don't know. But this is one of those stories that just comes out of nowhere. And at RootsTech, you find lots of different stories, and they bring in all these guest speakers, not only those who are experts in their field of expertise in a particular area like genetics. We even have people on AI talking about artificial intelligence and how you can use that in genealogy. And I will tell you, I've taken now 2 images to ChatGPT, which has handwriting on them. And I said, can you please transcribe this? One of them had Portuguese on there from a Brazilian consulate card, I think for like a passport or something. And so I said, can you please translate and transcribe this one? And it did it, no problem at all. Like I could read it. I just wanted to see what ChatGPT would do. It had no problem at all. I then took a copy of a entry in a parish record and just screenshot just the piece that I wanted. And I could read it pretty well. There was a couple of letters I weren't sure of. So I threw it into ChatGPT and said, please transcribe this word for word. Perfect. And I was just like, that's pretty cool. But anyway, sorry, I got total sidetracked on the newspaper. So there's a guy here talking about how to go and search the historical newspapers. And then we've got another one there that's beyond the brick wall strategies for pre-1850 US research. There's even one on Jewish Genealogy 101, examining the Irish census. Ancient DNA meets genealogy, how 23andMe's historical matches feature connects you to your past. I have not yet played with the historical matches thing. I haven't gone in and have a look. I just haven't had time lately to go in and have a look at that, but I'm curious to go in and see all of that. How does DNA fit into your family's story with identity, connection, and answers? These are all the ones I've got scheduled to sit and watch. And remember, I said there was 30 out of 81 that was played today. But there's just things on there. There's different DNA ones. There's Women and Children Second, the Laws and Records of Citizenship. And remember a couple of nights ago, we were talking about how during a certain period in the late 1800s, early 1900s, that if an American woman married a foreigner, she lost her American citizenship and had to take up the citizenship of her husband. And if he came to America or was in America and applied for citizenship, she was automatically given citizenship underneath him if he was approved. And there was a time there where if you were listed on the naturalization form as being the spouse or one of the children that was listed on there, because the head of the house was getting was applying for citizenship, then if he was approved, so were the other people mentioned on that thing, which was children and spouses. And then they have these different famous people coming in. Like they've got, where was he? They have got, and I'm really keen to go and listen to this, but they have Nelson Mandela's grandson is speaking. And he shares his experience living with one of history's greatest leaders and how he strives to honor his family's legacy. How cool would that be? I mean, that's just giving me goosebumps already. Just seeing some of the names of these people. There's a para-Olympian in there, and he tells his family. They're all telling their family stories. And some of them go into researching their genealogy as well, but they all tell their family stories about how family is there to support them and love them through trials and tribulations. Some of them will talk about tracing their roots. So I am super keen to go back, and guess what I'm probably going to be doing tonight? Yeah, I've already got my Saturday blocked up, although they've got more sessions on Saturday. They've got more sessions tomorrow, more sessions on Saturday. If you want to go to this, just go to, just search for RootsTech, RootsTech as one word, RootsTech 2025, and you'll get the login there. You may need to create a login. If you have a familysearch.org login, it's the same login to get into RootsTech. But there's a place that you can go register and all of that sort of stuff. And if you're online, you get to see it for free, and you can go back and you can look at some of the videos from today. You look at the video. Yeah, you set your own. You basically you can watch live, but there are some that you can actually just go in and set your own schedule and sit back and play one, have it playing in the background, which I have done with some things. If they're doing a lot of slideshows and stuff, I will watch it. If they're just on stage giving a speech without any photographs or anything else, then I can just listen to it. They have very active chats through this whole thing, through these whole sessions and everything else, so you can connect with other people as well. But what else the other one that really caught my eye? Oh, hang on, it was up here. It was one of the three. Yeah, leveraging partnerships, artificial intelligence, and community engagement to improve discoverability of records. How cool is that? And then there's one of the speakers that they've got on here. She's doing a matter of standards, DNA and the genealogical proof standard. The woman that's doing this is Judy G. Russell, and she is amazing. When I was at IGHR 2 years in 2023, she was doing the advanced method. No, it wasn't that one. It was a different one. It was a different course I was on that she was our instructor for the week. She is awesome. She may have been a lawyer in a past life. She may have been a judge in a past life, but I will tell you this. She brings in the legal stuff of what you can and can't do with genealogy, things you have to be aware of. And she does it in a very humorous way and tells these amazing stories. She has this gorgeous voice for telling stories. And anytime I get a chance to hear her speak, I am there. She is, and I learn a lot from her. But I did this one class with her about, no, it was IHGR 2 years ago, in 2023. Had her for a whole week. She was awesome. Yeah, she was awesome. We had the story with her cats. There's something about her cats. But yeah, we were all of those in the class. We had such a blast with her. She was amazing. So so she does sort of like the legal side of genealogy, even though she's retired from that industry, from the legal stuff now. She's a retired judge. But she gives us all the legalese stuff in English. and in humorous stories. So you get to learn you get to learn through parables with her as well. So yeah, so there's just a whole bunch of different ones that I just want to go back and see and talk to. They have Rachel Platten. I don't know who she is, but it says here that she's an Emmy Award-winning artist. I may have heard her songs. I don't know. I may have, but she gives a keynote speech earlier on. But there's just all these really cool different things, and I'm definitely honing in more on the DNA stuff to learn that. Honing in on the AI stuff. I've been learning a lot about AI and how it can be used in different ways in the office, just in the office and business and things like that too. I've been putting a lot of that stuff into practice, which is kind of like really cool. Creating some cool stuff and learning some new stuff. And every Monday night I learn something new and I go and play with it so it sticks. I got to play. You can tell me about it, but let me play. I got to go fidget and play. What other things have we got on? Yeah, so I'm doing as much DNA as I can. Oh, there's one about getting started in Scottish family history. I already researched in Scotland and that, but sometimes it's good to go back to the basics. So that's why on some of them, if it's an intro to DNA, let me go and have a look at that intro to DNA. What else can I pick up? And then I'll go on and look at the more advanced classes and things like that. So I like to get the basics, get the foundation right, make sure I've got the foundation right. You learn some new stuff every time. But it's just so much fun. And tomorrow, I don't even know what they've got on tomorrow. Oh, hang on. Do I have anything? Oh, I have one. Examining the Irish census is what I have on my schedule for tomorrow already there. Let's see. They've got another 81 classes on tomorrow. Yeah, they start their broadcasting at 1 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And some of them they will repeat. They repeat some at different times so that you can go in and see things at different times as well. Oh my gosh, there's one here about funeral traditions in the Victorian era. We might just have to put that on the schedule. But there is just, and if you want to hear some great family stories to get you interested in things and as well, and don't know what that is. I have to go. Oh, that'll be interesting to see. So they've got one for Apple, specifically for Apple users. Tips for using built-in Apple tools to preserve memories and records. That should be fun. Just seeing what other ones are on here. And these are just where they're replaying the recordings. I'm only up to 8 o'clock in the morning in preparation for doing their live things. Analyzing evidence. Yep. Love doing that stuff too. Finding a female ancestor with cluster research. Now, this is another new thing that's come out about cluster research. I have absolutely no idea what it is. So I'm going to be watching that one tomorrow to find out, to see how it is different from the networks. Because I've been seeing this cluster thing in Ancestry. Or was it Family Search? I've been seeing the cluster thing somewhere, and I have no idea what it is. So I'm seeing a class there for that. I'm going to go watch that one. They also have, like, in the one I watched today, she said that in Krista's one today, she mentioned 3 different speakers who are speaking tomorrow, and they're going to be telling their stories on how they use networks to get past some brick walls and things. So, and she said, and it's all click here, and they give you the click here, click there thing. She's, I'm not doing that for you today. You got to go to their seminars tomorrow, and they'll be able to tell you. So, but it was I didn't get to watch as much as I wanted to watch on day one. I just didn't have the time. I had a lot of stuff going on this morning. Tomorrow's going to is like super crazy. My Friday mornings now, nobody can get time with me on Friday mornings. I'm sorry. My Friday mornings are like blocked out. I literally go from one event to another event to another event before I get like 30 minutes to have lunch before I get on the chat in the afternoon. So Friday mornings are like, if anybody's trying to book in on Friday mornings, I'm sorry, they are completely blacked out. You can't get me on Friday mornings now anymore. You used to be able to get me on Friday mornings, but my schedule's changed. So yeah, so I'm probably not going to get to watch a lot tomorrow either. Don't have a lot of German research going on right now. But the cool part is you can actually come back to some of these sessions later on. So I'm not sure how long they keep the recordings up, because you can go back and watch some of the recordings after the event is finished. And I don't know how long they keep the recordings going online. Just trying to remember if I've gone back on watch videos, browse the library. Oh, they have some that were on last year's in here. No, this is 2025, isn't it? Yeah. Yes, they've got everything here for 2025, but I might be able, I don't know if I can log them to last year's one. But anyway, it was a very good day with RootsTech, being able to get some more of the stuff on my schedule to go back and watch. I'm going to be doing probably most of it in like 1.5 times speed, maybe up to 2 times, depending on the speaker. Some of the speakers, if they speak very slowly, I can bump them up to twice the speed, and I can get through the, the 30-minute ones and, the hour-long ones in 30 minutes type of thing. And some of them I just want to slow down and just listen to them talk, because they have really cool talking voices and they're telling really cool stories. So if you want to come and join us at RootsTech, just type in RootsTech 2025 into Google and it will pop up. Go register. It's free to register for online classes. They have a slew. If you're looking for DNA, if you're looking for how to start research in a particular country or region or time period, it will talk about certain things that happen in different time periods, how to extract this information out of census reports. These are the new tools that are coming out at Ancestry. This is what changes we've made at FamilySearch.org, and you get all of it. It's all there. And even if you go into the library, they've got it set up into categories there as well. So you like DNA, getting started, family search, what's new in the 2025 sessions, popular sessions, just the basics. And they've even got regional pages. So if you're from Africa, the Pacific, what do they have under Pacific? I know they had a couple of Australian ones that they're going to be doing or have done. Oh, cool. I've never looked at this before. So they've got Australia, so you can check out some of the classes that they've got for Australia. They have New Zealand. RootsTech has many classes that can help you find your ancestors in New Zealand. They've got the Pacific Islands there as well. So if you go into the regions, you might find some other things. There's about finding how to find famous relatives. If you're from the Latter Day Saints, they've got sessions there about tracing your genealogy as well. And you need to go check that one. So there's a lot of stuff in there. So if you're interested in researching your family tree, just go along and have a look. Just if you want to do a basic DNA class, just so you understand your DNA results even better, go do it. Go have a look at it. But it's free. And if you're online, you can save the videos and watch them later. You don't have to watch it live. You can watch it. You watch the recording later on. So with that, I am out of here. Just remember, research RootsTech as one word, 2025, and click on the thing to register, and you're good to go. So with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening. We'll be back.